Welcome back to a new episode of the Stormwater World podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Bloxam & Company. Bloxam manufactures a sediment and erosion control stormwater inlet filter made from coconut fiber that is designed to be simple to install and easy to maintain. The filter is available in pads and rolls, making it easy to customize for a wide range of stormwater inlets. Because it sits over the inlet, sediment buildup is easy to see at a glance, so crews can quickly assess performance without looking down into the structure. Bloxam also offers free samples. To learn more, visit bloxam.com or call 1-800-745-1408. Welcome back, everybody, to a new episode of the Stormwater World podcast. I am pretty excited. My inner stormwater nerd could not be happier about the things. We're going to talk about some of my just absolute favorite things today. We're going to talk about stormwater. We're going to talk about data, and we're going to get into some blockchain technology. We're even going to go into some AI. So what could be better? And joining me today to do all that is Joe Kramer, CEO of Parjana Engineering, and Alula Zeryihun, who is the founder and CEO of Edge Consulting Labs. Welcome, gentlemen. How are y'all doing today?
Good, thanks. Good afternoon.
Awesome. Well, as everybody knows, before we get going, everybody gets a bio. So let's break it down for our listeners on who we have with us today. Joe Kramer is CEO of Parjana Engineering. He's got over 12 years of experience in the stormwater world, where he leads a team developing innovative technologies that improve water infiltration and sustainable water management across urban development, agriculture, and infrastructure. With deep expertise in engineering and environmental management, he has built Parjana into a recognized force in eco-friendly water solutions, helping communities and clients manage one of our planet's most critical resources more responsibly. That has led Joe to put together a team of experts who have enabled the creation of the HydroCoin ecosystem, which we're going to talk about today in great detail. Also with us, as I've already mentioned, is Alula Zeryihun, who is the founder and CEO of Edge Consulting Labs, a Houston-based AI automation and blockchain infrastructure firm. With over a decade of experience in automation and crypto and a Big Four consulting background, Alula leads the development of HydroCoin, a water credit tokenization platform built on the XRPL, where one token represents one verified gallon of infiltrated water. Edge Labs builds production-ready systems across XRPL, Stellar, Hedera, and Solana, specializing in environmental credit tokenization. Wow! We're done. We're done here. Now that we got the bios out of the way, we've told everybody everything they need to hear. And then I would like, just for full transparency, we have a digital marketing agency that lives behind the podcast, and we are responsible for some of the marketing for Parjana Engineering, and we've been assisting with the marketing for HydroCoin. Since we are going to be talking cryptocurrency, gentlemen, I think it's prudent to say that none of us are financial professionals. This is not financial advice. Please do your own research. This podcast is for educational purposes only. Again, welcome to the podcast. Who wants to start unpacking what HydroCoin is? Maybe we should start with what is the problem, Joe? What did you see that needed to be addressed in a better fashion?
Well, it actually goes back, as you said, I've been in stormwater for 12 years, and it kind of goes all the way back to the beginning and looking at how water was treated as a liability. Everybody's got a problem. Every time anybody talks about it, it's a problem. And I always looked at it as, how could it be a positive? Instead of the negative, how can we create the positive? The positive then became a willingness to go down every rabbit hole there is, trying to figure out how to put this thing together. You have regional answers to it, and the regional answers go part way, but they don't go all the way. So we did a lot of studying in the Washington, D.C. market for the SRC credits. And over time, this is what we developed. We got to this point, and as you said, we put experts in different fields together to create an ecosystem that will monitor, verify, and a gallon of water infiltrated into the ground, more or less like a fingerprint.
So, Alula, when Joe approached you, one, I mean, how did he find you, and then what did you think when you first heard of his concept?
You know, when Joe found me, it was I had received a request at the time. It was exploring kind of high level how to get data for tokens into BI dashboards, and it was very kind of I'd say like early on in the discovery piece, and through conversations with Joe, I was able to learn a lot more about the mechanics and the pain points, and the actually like what stormwater and this entire field involves, and Joe would joke and say it was it's like drinking out of a fire hose at times when you're learning this incredibly complex and new topic. So initially, it was just connecting the dots. It was first sitting with Joe and kind of understanding what are the processes, what are the pain points, and mapping out from a automation perspective and from a data perspective and from a technology perspective, how that kind of would come together. And it was quite the learning opportunity, and to Joe's point, what really accelerated all of this was when more experts started coming into the room, right? So initially, it was very high level and conceptual in terms of pain points, but talking to actual engineers and hearing about the challenges they have for how they gather the data and where all the information is coming from, and and so as we continue to have these conversations and more experts were coming into the room and more more discovery was happening, the platform evolved. So it went from initially a BI representation, a visual representation, to the creation of a water accounting and verification infrastructure. So the ecosystem and the systems that everyone relies upon, having a standardized process for coming to that initial measurement component, and then throughout the entire life cycle, through verification, through reporting, being able to have a standardized approach. And so the concept of HydroCoin, from the inception, Joe was always saying 1 token for 1 gallon, and through coming together with the experts and being able to really identify the pain points and create the engineering behind it, now we're able to have that system. So it's I would say it was quite the fire hose.
That's well, yeah. I mean, just talking to Joe sometimes is that in general. He's got a lot of stuff going on in his brain. And I mean that in the most loving way possible, Joe. But I think we've been in the game about the same amount of time, and what I see, if I'm boiling down what you guys just said, what I see out there is the time has come to prove it. We've got a lot of stuff in the ground. Everybody talks a good game. We've got our third-party verification systems out there, with the different, I'm not going to even name organizations and different. That says my device is good, but as far as just being able to 100% go in and say, hey, we know this works. We know we're doing right. We're in compliance. All that, and actually prove it. Show me that you actually did that. Show me that water was actually infiltrated. That's where we got to go. I mean, plain and simple. I mean, just checking a box is no longer good enough. I feel like in our industry, we've all been doing this for too long in my opinion. And we've had plenty of people that have come on the pod and said the same thing, that we need to be able to prove that we actually are doing the right things and making the water better. And one way to show that is to be able to track and show water recharge and verification. Right? Am I on the right path there? Am I thinking right? I hate to take a very complex concept, because there's going to be some moving parts that we're going to touch on today, and boil it down to 2 words: prove it. But isn't that what we're trying to do?
Well, yeah, quantify and authenticate. That's the whole thing in a nutshell.
Yeah. So I work in 1-syllable words. I mean, as everyone knows, but I mean, we can do the 3-syllable words if you want, Joe. It's fine. Let's take a step back real quick for those that may not know, because this is not necessarily a new concept. How we're approaching it is definitely new and improved, if you will, but you want to explain to everybody that may not know what an SRC is, what's going on with that, and maybe some potential limitations and how what we're doing is different? I'll start with you, Joe, and then we'll go into some details on HydroCoin. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, the SRC program is Washington, D.C. It's a regional area, and it's the Stormwater Retention Credit, if I'm not mistaken, for the acronym. We have so many acronyms, you got to be careful on all of them. But
No, I think you're right.
And the point to that is, I think it's the most developed accounting system. It's not even an accounting system. It's a financial system based on a gallon of water infiltrated. And Washington, D.C., again, is out in front with that. It's the longest standing one that has gained the credibility and the eyes of the community on it. But again, there's limitations to it because it's regional. So if we're looking at all the different regional aspects across North America and across the globe, nobody is actually compliant together. I'm doing it this way, another city is doing it this way, and they're even broken up not only just in cities, so an entire state isn't even together on it. It's typically a small region, citywide, and it's throughout North America that way. The point to it is I always looked at it as, how can we put it in one system that everybody can get behind, everybody can all go and march at the same tune through this, and be able to actually look at it and have credibility behind it. So that's how I turned from the SRC to the platform.
Right. So SRC in our world, we've coined, because I mean, why would we ever get away from acronyms? We need our own acronym, right? So, Alula, you want to talk about MRV as we've been and how it applies to HydroCoin, and start kind of breaking down that process for us?
Absolutely. So yeah, to throw in another acronym, we have MRV, which stands for Monitoring, Reporting, and Verification. And you can think of MRV as the backbone of the HydroCoin ecosystem. So initially we were talking about some of the challenges within within the existing ecosystem, and lack of standardization, lack of kind of a common ground across different jurisdictions and different areas. And so with MRV, with monitoring, reporting, and verification, it's basically a systematic approach to how information is captured and how information is basically measured, reported, and verified. And so with the HydroCoin ecosystem, we have a process for standardizing the onboarding of sites, where we basically have different types of methodologies that are applied for gathering the data for the sites. because no two locations are the same. No two drops of water in areas are all the same, and so the processes and everything are different. And so we have a standard approach for getting the data, for measuring the amount of infiltrated water, verifying the infiltrated amounts. So with the HydroCoin ecosystem, it's not just the platform or the ecosystem is just issuing tokens or saying water was verified without a third party. So for us, we have a third party verification process where an external engineer and auditor confirm that the infiltrated amounts are actually what was infiltrated into the ground. And then following that, we have reporting capabilities with regards to that information being available. And so for us, the way that we're doing it is we're using the XRP Ledger. And so that information is publicly available. The fingerprints, the records are basically auditable at any point, where people can look at that information and see a site and what was infiltrated for it.
I think people have, Joe, did you, before I got a little follow up with Alula on that, but did you have anything to add to what he was just saying about kind of like what it is in the verification process and what he just kind of covered?
No, actually, he did a great job in unpacking that. And I think it all boils down to credibility, right? We have a system that we have put together for the recording and verification, but then also the credibility backed up by an engineer, backed up by the accounting side of it, and nothing is created until an actual gallon of water went into the ground.
Right. And then, okay, so that makes sense. So let's kind of recap that, and then I have a follow up. So what we've got is we've got projects, water goes in the ground. These projects are being monitored. Do you want to touch on a little bit, I guess, are we using some AI technology along in there somewhere with some of the monitoring? Is that, did I dream that?
We have a couple of processes that we had within Parjana Engineering, and when talking to Alula, he was saying that we can pick up a couple of things, and I'll let him go into the AI component of it. But it was basically taking our process and freeing up time and being able to pull that information in for the verification side.
Exactly. Yeah, it's there's a lot of processes that are probably commonplace across this entire industry where they're manual. There's a lot of like time-consuming activities. So in our initial discovery of just like meeting with the engineering teams and sitting down with them, we found several examples where there's amount of time that's spent where instead of pulling that information manually from different sites and different locations, you can programmatically do that, right? And so we've automated a lot of those manual kind of processes, and we're continuing to discover them and do that throughout the process. So as new sites are coming on board, the idea is that how do you make it so that the engineers themselves are enabled to focus on more important tasks. The AI component is actually, once the standardization is hit, now we can get the data in a more standard process. Then it's the additional pieces of insights that the engineers would spend time on that it's kind of mundane, like looking over photographs or videos or things that are just kind of necessary steps to take in order to complete the task, but usually require 15, 20, 30 minutes at a time of the engineer's focus. And so we're actively working on those. We've been experimenting and testing out different tools in that process, and developing custom solutions as well for that. And as this entire process evolves, that's the focus. But On the website right now, there's also guided experiences as well that we've included in there. So, if someone is on there and they're, curious about, what the HydroCoin ecosystem is, or how, to connect with people with, site information and further information, they can interact with the agents that we have deployed right now. And the vision is really, as this matures, AI is already part of that story, and so the evolution of HydroCoin and AI can continue to grow together in the future.
Gotcha. And that's hydrocoin.com. You guys can go there and check it out. We'll also put that in the show notes. So to kind of maybe to step back, or to what I think I'm hearing, right, is that AI tends to shine where there's tons of data and little time, or where time could be spent better. And so Parjana Engineering had a bunch of data, and Alula and his team were able to take all that data and compress some time frames, and so that we can move this whole project forward. Otherwise, I think stormwater in general, the industry, we have a lot of data and limited time and resources in terms of people and analysis. And whether you like AI or don't like AI, it definitely shines when there's a large data set that needs to be reviewed or sorted through or parsed out in some sort of way. So that's fantastic. You also mentioned being on the XRPL, which is a ledger on the blockchain. I think it's 2026. Along with AI, everybody has an opinion, good or bad, about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. I don't know if you guys touched on it. My assumption would be there's a lot of transparency there that it's giving us. You guys both want to give your thoughts on why use the blockchain for this for this ecosystem, if you will. Why not just how come we're not just doing it the old school way on spreadsheets and dashboards and whatnot that we can create and people can log into and see, and and so on and so forth. What was the thought process around putting it on chain?
Well, it kind of goes right back to the beginning, right? So, as you said, when we talked to Alula, we had all this data and we had everything. We had a lot of data, but it's sitting in a file and nobody's using it. Although you go from memory and you go, oh yeah, we have this over here. Let's go back and look at it. So the whole point of a lot of this experiment that we're running through now is how do we take that old data, stuff happened last year, 2 years ago. How do we take that data and how do we use it? And instead of it sitting in a file, now we're able to point to it, use it. And that was always the transparency is the huge part of this, right? A lot of other systems are out there. They're not transparent. There's no credibility to them. And with the blockchain, we're able to put transparency to a situation with massive amounts of data and generate outcomes, which is turned out to be HydroCoin.
Oh, did you guys some thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I'd say that the transparency is a big part of it. You want to be able to have an ecosystem that does not rely on just one single party for trust, right? So when something is recorded on chain, it is accessible to anyone. We can look on an explorer. You can follow the provenance of activities and as information is flowing. And in terms of the benefits of it, it's when we were talking, we were looking at one of our ROI calculators, and it's a really amazing tool, and just looking at maps, and it dawned on me, like the power of something like this, right? It's you're able to have information where you have the on-chain record for a particular site, And then as an investor, you're able to, purchase tokens that represent verified water that has been infiltrated in the ground. And the history of that water, as it's just being fingerprinted, and all that information that's relating to it is accessible to you. So the transparency of it, the ability to create kind of the concept of going from a liability to an asset, right? Like that whole thing wouldn't be accessible had there not been a decentralized network that allows for individuals to be able to interact without needing to trust one another, because there's a system that can't be broken, right? So so just I'd say it's a really powerful piece. And then in terms of chain selection, we went through several iterations of looking at the market, what's available, and XRP definitely checked off a lot of boxes in terms of cost, in terms of speed, and when you're thinking of the water, with no pun intended, but the concept of volume, right? There's going to be a lot of transactions, a lot of volume. And so you want a network that can support that. And so that, Joe and team were really adamant about, wanting to go down, on that direction. And, it's best decision ever. So we're, flowing.
Right.
I remember those early conversations.
Yes.
Yeah. So how long have you guys been working on this then?
Well, I mean, I've been working on it for probably 10 years, and as a concept, as putting it together. And Alula and I have been working on it, since maybe September, October?
Just about, I would say about 6 or 7 months now.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So let's kind of, where the rubber meets the road, right? Which would be the ultimate question that everybody asks, which is, what's in it for me? You guys want to kind of unpack, so we got this cool way to do something that, it's not like it isn't being done. It's just, it may be a little bit siloed, and we're kind of putting together a lot of pieces in one place, and then nobody's really truly marking or validating an actual gallon of water, I don't believe. So you got a lot of cool things going on, but then what is it, why do I care as an engineer? Why do I care as a project owner? What, again, that's what everybody, good, bad, or ugly. That's how people are, right? What's in it for me? You want to take that, Joe, and then Alula, you can jump in.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a loaded question, because it depends on who you're talking to, right? I mean,
right, yeah. Just break it down by the different people, for sure.
So, I mean, and there's so many different people within that question. So, I mean, if you look at, say, let's kind of go back, because we touched on it. Let's go back to Washington, D.C. And you have a program out there that is, in my opinion, more conceptual than it is factual. And even if we took what they're already doing, they already have this program together. They're already, people are already retaining SRC credits, and all we're doing is adding to that. So we're not taking away from it, we're adding to that program. And that recording and verification is actually making that program that much better. But then let's break it down even from just the overall program to the inspectors. So inspectors are running out to every job site, and they're, okaying that system, or they're saying this isn't working, they're getting a complaint. Now, all of this stuff is right in front of you. An inspector, not saying that he's going to do this, but he would have the ability to look at this, and if it was infiltrating X amount year 2, and by year 3 it was reduced by 90%, you know there's a problem. All of that can be done from a desktop versus running out to the job site or anything else. And then from that point, an inspector can get a hold of the owner of that system and say, hey, the probability of this, because of what's happening, it needs maintenance. And then once the maintenance occurs, you see it going back to actual flow rates that it's supposed to be designed for. So all of that together, and those are just two little things. I mean, you have investors. Why would they? Because there's a financial gain to it now. You go to any engineer, there's it's backed up by actual data that was verified by a third-party engineering firm and authenticated by an accounting firm. So now with that credibility, everybody can feel safer about it. And with it being out there, as we were saying, an ecosystem, it's going to multiply from that point on. And I'll let Alula add to that, but there's so many different ways everybody can benefit from this.
Absolutely. You know, in the use cases we were looking at, there was like many different industries where, you know, water is such a scarce resource, right? And I know we were talking about like AI consumption, for example, right? Like the amount of water that AI consumes daily is enormous, right? So if there's a way to you know, offset that, right, that's a huge you know, win for the world. And so for me, as like, you know, someone who's new to this water world, the stormwater space, and just in general, you know, this entire ecosystem, the benefits from an environmental perspective is huge. And at the core, what's driving that is, again, the MRV process. We have an automated process for, you know, verifying what's actually being infiltrated into the ground. And so, you know, when you think about all the use of water and all the, you know, excess use of water, if there's a way to, you know, to offset that in a positive way, that's a huge win for the world, right? So, you know, I know, Joe, we've talked about this, and you know, the vision that you have for HydroCoin, it's a global, you know, a global ecosystem, right? So the benefits on a global scale is just it's a massive opportunity. And so, you know, that, like, ever since, you know, 7 months ago now, every time I see, you know, sitting water or anything like that, my mind instantly goes into infiltration, right? It's how does this water go into the ground, and you know what, like, yeah, so.
So, Ty, that was a great question. So you've seen a lot of this. How does it benefit your side of the world?
Well, I think what we probably, well, one, Alula just tried to open a can of worms by talking about AI and water use. It's a whole nother episode. We can do, you can come back on and we can do that, because you probably just triggered a bunch of people. That's okay. And then I think we should probably just unpack the compliance side of things. I would like to touch on, you know, at the end of this process, right? What you guys are providing is a better way to track infiltration on these projects, and through that process, it ends up becoming actual verified data on the blockchain in the form of this token, right? Mm-hmm. So since this token exists, what can I do with it? You guys want to talk about that? And I don't know if that's a now thing or a future thing, but if it exists, then can I use it for compliance? Can I use it for offset? You know, I guess, you know, if you want to correlate it back to, you know, stormwater credit, carbon credit, like, what is the, again, it kind of goes back to that. What's in it for me? If I've got one, can I sell it? Can I use it? You know, because I can't I'm not in compliance, like what does this what can I do with this token?
So, Alula, I'll let you go first. I like knowing that other people understood what my concept was. So, this is great.
Yes, absolutely. And the short answer is in the current state we're building the verification engine right now. So like right at this moment we have a process where as the sites are going through the process of tracking water as it's being infiltrated, being able to measure that, report that, verify that, and have that record on chain. The tokens themselves, I think, have many different potentials. There's marketplaces. There are, all of those environmental, examples like the carbon credits and others, where being compliant asset basically that we're developing, could eventually be offset, and we've built those mint and burn logic. So there's logic for redemption of HydroCoins on sites. So if a token is being redeemed, the ecosystem basically burns the token, so it removes it from the existing lot. And so from a engineering perspective, all of the backbones for being able to have an asset that functions like traditional carbon credits and everything else that we're accustomed to is there. Now, as Clarity Act and other regulations start to shape up and become the law and are signed and are effective, it's I think additional kind of opportunities that it presents at those times. But at the current state right now, it's basically being able to monitor, report, verify, and create a one-for-one token basically for infiltrated water.
Gotcha. And I think it comes down to the token is just the packaging around this process that you guys have created, and the important part is the actual verification. The verification. This actually happened on this project in this amount, right? And I think it also goes to I think it's also a good point to make sure everybody, because I think sometimes people do have an adverse reaction to AI and to blockchain and some of these technologies. And I want to make sure everybody understands that those are just tools in the process. There is still a very integrated engineering side of this. That is that you're looking at the data that AI is helping. They are verifying the process of the infiltration, and then the blockchain is just being used to record it. So let's not. Well, I think as soon as we say AI, I think everybody starts freaking out, right? Oh, we're taking jobs away. No. We're making people more efficient, and we're allowing them to do something they would not have been able to do, because we need their big brains to be able to look at the final analytics and not sit there and dig through mounds and mounds of data and trying to compile that data, right? We need them to be able to provide us with the answers, not go and do all the digging.
AI's the assistant.
Exactly.
That's,
So what's next? I guess I think, Joe, maybe you can speak to it. Alula kind of touched on it, because kind of with legislation and just where we're at today and what we're trying to accomplish with everything that's going on. What do you see the future?
Well, as we started this out, I've been doing this, the creation has been developing for the last 10 years, and it's not going to stop in the next 10 years. So it's going to continue to develop out. It's going to continue to improve, and it's always going to be based on MRV. So if you have your base all we can do is not create a better base, but create better tools around that base so that this can be used as a global tool. And water, which is the, some argue, the most important commodity out there, and just be able to understand it instead of looking at a rain event. Oh, it's raining outside. What, and as Alula said, now that he looks at this, he's looking at it now of where's it really going? What's happening? How's it happening? And this is just a tool to tell you what happened, when it rained, where it landed, what happened to it, and where is it. That's and
I got you. You know, and I'm sorry. You have some thoughts, Lula? Go ahead.
No. I was just I was agreeing with Joe on that right there. That's.
I hopefully those that have hung in there with us through this episode, I would like to say, because I am a nerd in this, I'm into crypto, I like it, I'm into AI, and then of course, obviously, I've been in the stormwater game for a couple of days, and this is not what you guys are creating is not something just out of left field. Everything is going to go on chain. Everything is going to end up eventually go on chain. So if you go and do a little Googling, you can see that there's concepts around oil. You know, Joe had mentioned, that's what made me think of it, of how important water is going to be going into the future, and how and of course we all love our oil as it is today. Maybe not everybody that's listening to this podcast is a lover of oil, but we can't get, as of right now, we can't get away from it, right? We are a petroleum-based world. And so when you think about, wow, oil's going on the blockchain, how are they going to do that? Well, you know, as I said in the beginning, do your own research, check it out. But the concept of putting water on chain is not as far-fetched as you may think if you've been listening to us and you've been rolling your eyes or whatnot while you're listening to this episode. It's probably a lot more real than you think, and if these guys don't do it, somebody else is going to do it in some way, shape, or form. So what do we miss, gentlemen? What if we were going to start wrapping up this conversation? You know, how could we, you know, put a bow on it? What did we miss that we need to make sure the listeners understand about the mission, Joe, and what HydroCoin means to the stormwater world?
I think, as we've always talked, stormwater is stormwater. Stormwater is a slow-moving ship, and we're trying to put some light around it and some interest in it. And I think that goes for water in general. There's not a lot of interest in water, but water is the biggest thing that we have to deal with. And I think all we're doing is shining that light on it, and hopefully that light continues to get brighter and brighter as time goes on.
Alula, your takes from being involved in the project. I know you're new to the stormwater world, but obviously not new to the Web3 environment.
Yeah, you know, my biggest take is how massive of an opportunity it is when you know, like you alluded to, Ty, is everything is coming on chain. You know, there's many agendas, and so, like, you know, just like every drop of oil will eventually be measured, every drop of water will eventually be measured, and you think of, you know, like with recent events, you know, there's been threats of desalination plants being bombed by Iran, for example, recently, right? And like that geopolitical impact, like, you know, with HydroCoin, it's what's the, you know, in my mind, I think, what is the geopolitical impact of that, right? Like, how is, you know, the potential, the value of water impacted by the lack of access of it, and how can we collectively be able to, you know, move society in a better direction. And so I'm excited as, all days, I think, anytime it's raining today in Houston and, more HydroCoin thoughts coming as I look at that. But yeah.
Everything is going on chain. Put the federal budget on chain. Put the local government budgets on chain. Oh, I just opened another can of worms. Gentlemen, that we don't have time for today. Unless you guys have any other final thoughts, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to be on with me today. I'm excited to have you here to put this podcast out. I think it's super interesting. I can't wait to see where HydroCoin goes from here and the interest that people have in that and watch the technology grow. So thank you all so much for being on the show.
Thank you for the invite. Thanks for having us.
All right. That's the pot. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our sponsor, Bloxam. Bloxam offers a coconut fiber stormwater inlet filter designed for simple installation, easy maintenance, and clear visual performance on site. The product is available in pads and rolls and can be customized for a variety of inlets. Learn more at bloxam.com or call 219-363-0206 or 1-800-745-1408. We'll see you on the next episode.